Welcome everybody. There we go, it started recording. Welcome everyone to ESMARConf2022, and this is our workshop on searching for studies in meta-analysis and evidence synthesis. This workshop is being live streamed to YouTube and has a group of participants in the Zoom session, so welcome to all of you. If you're watching via YouTube and you have any questions for our presenter, please do reply to their tweet. So we have a special tweet for this session, and that's at our tweet site, which is SHES Hackathon in the feed, and we'll try to reply to those as soon as possible. Participants, you're welcome to send your questions through within Zoom. We would like to draw your attention to our code of conduct available on ESMARConf website, which is esmarconf.github.io. Our workshop presenter today is Alison Bethel from University of Exeter, and I'll now hand over to you, Alison.
Okay, thank you. I'm now going to try and share my screen. Okay, is that working okay?
It's working great.
Brilliant. Okay, so my name is Alison Bethel. I work for the University of Exeter Medical School for ENARC, which is the Applied Research Collaboration for the Southwest Peninsula. And this is my first time doing a live stream like this. So if anything goes wrong, just keep our fingers crossed that it doesn't. Okay, so I'm part of the evidence synthesis team. Oops. Who are up here on the top right. So that's the team. And we've got Joe, Becca, Noreen, Becky and Morwenna. And a special shout out to Morwenna because these slides have been developed over the years. Morwenna and I have done quite a lot of teaching. She's my co-IS in the team. So we've done quite a lot of teaching. So these slides are a kind of amalgamation of our sort of normal teaching. If you want to follow us, you'll find us at Evidence Team on Twitter, and we're also part of an IS team as well. So you'll find we've got an IS Twitter handle as well. So in the evidence synthesis team, we do systematic reviews. So what Morwenna and I do is we search for the evidence for systematic reviews. And it's not just systematic reviews, we also do different types of evidence synthesis. So I've been involved in realist reviews, rapid reviews, scoping reviews, evidence gap maps. So there's been, you know, so there's quite a lot of different types of evidence synthesis which we get involved in. And what we do is searching. So this is a kind of overview of what we're going to cover today. And I think it's going to be about 2 hours. So it's quite a long session. So I'm going to get you guys to do stuff during it as well. So again, hopefully that's going to work. So we're going to start with some questions. So we have a Menti quiz. So if you could go on there, that would be great. And that's the code 59550-637. And I think it's in the chat as well. If you click on that. Excellent. And I'm going to go into it as well and see what's coming up. So gosh, it looks like there's a lot of people who've been involved in an evidence synthesis project. There is a second question. So if you want to move on to the second question as well. So those of you, which there are quite a lot of, I'm interested to find out if you've done the searching. So yeah, there's not many people who haven't been involved in an evidence synthesis project. Great. And then the second one is, if you have, did you undertake the searching? So it looks like most of you have done the searching for some kind of evidence synthesis. So I may be preaching to the converted in this session. But even when I go to searching sessions, even with 10 years experience, I always come away with something. I think, oh, well, I didn't think of that. So hopefully today it isn't going to be just repeating stuff that you already know. Brilliant. That's I think that's probably it. So brilliant. Thank you very much. Okay, so that's really helpful to know that. So I asked about evidence synthesis. So, in evidence synthesis, there's a lot, I mentioned them already. There's lots of different types of evidence synthesis. There's systematic reviews, scoping reviews, living reviews. And I think I've probably been involved in most types apart from a living review. But the thing about searching is that in a way, it doesn't really matter what type of evidence synthesis you're doing. The search methods are very similar. So hopefully, whatever type of evidence synthesis you've done, you will be able to use some of these little tips, tricks that we're going to go through today. But I'm going to talk, when I talk about searching, I'm going to talk about it in terms of systematic reviews. So if you're interested in finding out more about the types of evidence synthesis or typology, here's a few references. The Grant of Booth one from 2009, I think was the first one. They did an update in 2019, and then there was one by Neil and some co-authors in 2020. And I think he's just published another one to do with a typology in public health. So I'm sure Neil can provide that reference for us. So we're confident again. So I'm interested in the words that you associate with systematic reviews. So I'm going to try and share that again. Okay, so this is a word cloud. So I'm interested in what people associate with systematic reviews. So it's great that you're all putting words in there. It's great. So we've got protocol, long, search string, reproducibility. It's great to see protocol right in the middle there. Brilliant. Prisma. Summary to a point. Meta-analysis, gaps, search string, tags, transparency, precision, risk bias, high impact, transparency, reproducibility, screening. Write up, strong evidence, specific guidelines, lack of transparency, search strategy, complete. Oh, still going, that's great. Robust, equation, decisions, evidence-based medicine, fair. Okay, I'll stop. Yeah, that's fantastic. That's really good. You know, it's probably no surprise because you've all been involved in, or most of you have actually been involved in the evidence synthesis. So I'm going to go back to my slides. So I'm going to just put up some information from Cochrane. So this is what they say about systematic reviews. I'm sure most of you will know what Cochrane is, the Cochrane collaboration, and that's taken from their handbook. So they talk about appraising, synthesizing, explicit methods, minimizing bias. Just a few of the words that pop out for me. Campbell, again, it's best available evidence, robust methods, transparent procedures, and then environmental evidence. That's a collaboration for environmental evidence. And again, they talk about explicit methods, appraising and analysing the data. So really,
Alison, can I just interrupt you? Sorry about that.
Sure.
I think you've got your Menti screen still up, and I think
sorry.
No, you're all right. I might just take the opportunity that we won't be, just to mention that we won't be taking raised hands just during the presentation part of the workshop. But if those of you that have any questions, please do enter them either in the chat or in the question and A section. So thanks very much. I'll leave the floor back to you.
Thank you. I normally use Teams, so but Zoom has a nice pause here, which I've been using and I'm forgetting to put back on. So yeah, as I said, there's you know, Cochrane, Campbell, and the collaboration for environmental evidence. There are three, you know, brilliant places to go to find out about evidence synthesis and systematic reviews, and they sort of explain, you know, why, you know, the things that you need to do to be, you know, to do a good systematic review. And we're looking, so that's the systematic review, and if we take that into the searching, we have to think about the searching as well. So the searching, this is from CE, but it's I just chose this one because I thought it was particularly good. So it says here that, oops. So the searches should be transparent, reproducible, and minimize biases. So these are things we need to think about when we're actually carrying out the searches. So, for example, people might say, you know, they might publish their search strategy, but they might say we search for this and this and this, but it doesn't mean it's reproducible. They don't see where they searched or where that search string was entered, you know, which database they used. So it's these things are really useful to think about when we're carrying out the searches. And if you don't do this in the searching, then, you know, you're introducing bias right at the beginning of your systematic review. So this is a little kind of flow diagram, and as you all know, that's how a systematic review works, isn't it? It goes all round in a nice little flow. But as you know, in reality, that is not what happens. You know, there's a lot of backwards and forwards and things. But what I wanted to do here was just to give a simple sort of diagram of how, you know, the steps within a systematic review. So, and the four places that we've put the searching. So we've got scoping searches, fill search, supplementary searching, and update searches. And the supplementary searching is down in the right-hand corner, but it doesn't always happen there. But it's just to put it within the flow. Okay. So we're going to start with scoping searches. Why do we do scoping searches? You know, I'm sure you all know this. We need to find out, has it been done before? I'm involved in a project within our team looking at systematic reviews within a particular field within the COVID literature. And we have found there are more systematic reviews in that particular field than primary research that's been done. So a lot of people are doing systematic reviews on this particular subject, and they haven't even looked to see if it's already been done. So for this one that we are looking at, there's a living systematic review by Cochrane, but still people are continuing to do other systematic reviews. So it's really, really good to find out, is it happening already? Is it underway, or has it been published? You know, before you to stop research waste. You don't go and do the same thing again. For related work, so any background reading that you need to do, and to get an idea of the size of the evidence base. So that's really quite important. So often scoping searches happen at the point where you're putting a grant application in. So if you're doing that, I will do quite a lot of scoping searches to find out how much evidence is out there. Firstly, is there enough evidence to do an evidence synthesis, or is there too much evidence? Do we need to restrict our question a little bit? Sometimes this is done if you're not applying for a grant to do it, if it's like a question within a team. The scoping, sometimes happens in conjunction with developing the research question. Okay. And when you start scoping, you get an idea of the search terms, and also what you might find, or hopefully what you'll find, are key papers that come up in your search. So I've got search terms in there twice because it's really important. So how do you do it? Here, these are just some places that you might want to search. So a protocol for systematic reviews, Prospero obviously is a really good place to look. At the moment, I don't think there's anywhere that just has like scoping reviews or evidence gap maps, but I might be wrong in that. There are other places you can look. We've registered protocols on Open Science Framework, but it isn't, I'd say it's not the easiest one to then go and search to see if there is something ongoing. Guidelines, this is in the medical field. It's been nice evidence. Systematic reviews, again, these are all kind of more medical. Cochrane databases, systematic reviews, TRIP database, and Epistemonicus, which is a fantastic resource for systematic reviews. And then you've got PubMed. These ones that I've mentioned are all freely available to many people. I'm not sure they're freely available to everyone. And then there's ones at the bottom there, which I've mentioned, which do require a subscription. So if your university or institute has access to these databases, they're quite a good place to do some scoping searches in. So some common problems with searching. I've been doing this job for just over 10 years. Prior to that, I worked for the Environment Agency, and before that, I worked for a government research lab, both of them as a librarian. But still, sometimes you go, where am I going to look? There's too many resources. Which ones am I going to focus on? And then once you start searching, often you get too many results, or there's not enough results. So it's these are common every time you start searching. You come across this, and then when do you stop? Because in a systematic review, you're trying to find all of the evidence. So at what point do you say that's enough? I'm going to stop now. So it can be quite tricky, which is kind of why we have a protocol where you lay out your search methods and that in a way that stops you in terms of where you're going to search, but how you search. Within those databases, you can kind of go on and on a bit sometimes. So what we're trying to balance is to find as much relevant information as possible and minimize the amount of irrelevant information. Again, this is a balancing act that we are continually trying to balance these two things. So before you start searching, your full search, you want a protocol, and I mean that came up in the Menti quiz we did there. Yeah, everyone, you're going to use a protocol, and for searching, the inclusion and exclusion criteria can be really helpful. I've been involved in a couple of projects recently where they had a very sketchy protocol and they went straight into finding the search terms or defining them and putting them down. And I was thinking that, well, we're not at that stage yet. But actually what I think they were doing was trying to come up with their inclusion and exclusion criteria. So that might be a good way. You might find that useful to just putting search terms down to help you, boundary your inclusion and exclusion criteria. And then the second thing to do is look for any relevant systematic reviews. And I don't mean for your specific question, but say for elements of your question. If you're looking, say, for children with asthma, that's your population, you might want to go into Cochrane and have a look. Are there any systematic reviews that they've published on the population children with asthma, and then go in and have a look at their search strategies. Don't just look at them and use them. If you are going to use them, please reference them. But the other thing that you really need to do is appraise the search methods or the search strategies. Go and look at them, because, you know, I often do this. I go in and say, well, actually, I don't need that, and I don't need that. And so, you know, Cochrane is a great place to start, because, you know, they're sort of gold standard systematic reviews. Also have a look at any, if you're doing an environmental one or social sciences, look at the Campbell ones, or the Environmental Evidence Journal. They have some excellent sort of gap maps and systematic reviews, and they publish protocols as well. So yeah, definitely appraise them, and don't just think because somebody else has used it that you're going to get that's the best search strategy for your question. And find key papers, and you pick those up from scoping searches, but also from topic experts. So in your project team, you might have some topic experts, so ask them for any key papers, and then just following leads, you know, on the internet. So you can come up with a body of key papers that's going to help you validate your search. Okay, another Menti quiz now. I'll try this one again. So this is about what resources you have already used. So hopefully you can see that Web of Science is coming up high. Scopus, Google Scholar, PubMed, academic databases, Twitter, PsycInfo, permalink of search. I have to say I'm not sure what that means, so any explanation on that would be super helpful. Central, ProQuest, Lens, reference lists, Greylit databases, Medline, Mendeley, RSS feed. So yeah, huge amounts. Previous meta-analysis, lots of databases, preprints.
We've got a message, OATD, open access theses and dissertations. Was that the one you asked, Alison?
Yeah, it was, I can't remember what it was. It was
They're going, turning around.
This is brilliant, because there's stuff coming up here that I never use, I've never heard of, you know, cyberleninka, don't know what that is. So, you know, it's brilliant, because you know, as I say, I've been doing this for 10 years, but you're constantly learning. And I should really say, this is what I'm presenting here is just a way in which, you know, I do, and, you know, my co-information specialists here at the university go about it. It's not the only way. And any searches that we do know that, you know, there's an art to it. So this is the way I do it. But someone else can do something completely different, and we still get the included results. So, you know, it's not set hard and fast, you know, yes, right and wrong. So that's brilliant.
But I'm taking a screenshot just to look up some of those for later.
Yeah, thank you. yeah, great. So I'm going to pause that and try and go back to my presentation again. So hopefully that's coming up again. So that was really helpful. Thanks everyone for engaging with it. I just want to mention this one, but actually from what you all put in, I'm not sure it's that relevant now, because I think you all pretty much know what a database is as opposed to a platform or a publisher. So there's a couple of things I just wanted to point out here. So through Ovid, you can get, say, CAB abstracts, Global Health and Medline, but you can also access it through CABE down here, CAB abstracts and Global Health. Medline you can access in loads of different ways through Ovid, EBSCO, ProQuest, or PubMed. So there are things to think about. Web of Science has, I know that that has lots of databases on it. So it has Science Citation Index. It also has Medline you can access through Web of Science, and it also has things like conference abstracts. So that's not, Web of Science isn't a database, it's a platform that hosts databases. So you should really say in your search methods which databases you accessed. And, not that long ago, I was probably just putting Web of Science in, and we're all learning as things go on, as things develop and change. So it's great to see that that's now, yes, we do have to say that, which is brilliant. And there is also some evidence to show that it depends which platform that you use will depend on the search results you get. They can be different depending on the platform. So you can search, say, Medline through Ovid, you'll get different results to Medline through ProQuest. It could be partly to do with the interface, the platform interface, because they're all different, or it could be to do with when the database is updated on that platform. So, which is why we generally say which platform it's through. But you will see people saying, I searched EBSCO. That's really, like here at the university, we have access to, 25 databases through EBSCO. Did they search all of them? You need to be a bit more specific to make it reproducible. So when it comes to database searching, there's both free text searching and controlled vocabulary searching. So in the free text searching, we search for specific words or phrases, generally in specific fields. And then there's controlled vocab searching, which you might know, for those of you who are involved in some medical research, there's MESH, which are medical subject headings, which you'll find in PubMed and Medline. But most databases will have controlled vocab, and it might be called a thesaurus, or it might be called subject terms. And it's good to search both of those, so you're trying to capture as much relevant information as possible. So when we start thinking about the free text searching, I don't think this will be new to most people. We need to think about synonyms. So whether that's synonyms, variations, previous terminology, abbreviations, you need to try and, as we're trying to capture everything, you need to put all of this information in, or at least start off with it. Whether it ends up in your search strategy, you don't really know. So we're going to look at a particular question. So what is the impact of robotic pets on the health and well-being of older adults? This is quite similar to a systematic review I was involved in. And we're going to use PICO to come up with some synonyms for the population and the intervention. Again, I don't think I need to say what PICO means, because I suspect you already know. It stands for population, intervention, comparator, and outcome. And it's usually used, or it was developed to try and to help people come up with a research question. But in terms of searching, we use it to try and combine our terms together. So when you think of population, we've got older adults. So it's not a phrase, it's just words that you're going to search in a database that's going to find relevant information for you. And mostly in searching, you'll search for just the population and the intervention in this kind of question. Outcomes are often not in the title and abstract, which is what you're searching. So databases don't have access to full text. I know some people, I've had that in the past, they think they're searching the full text of papers. You're not. You're searching just in the bibliographic details, which will be, you know, author, title, abstract, the author affiliation. So you need to the words that you come up with are going to be within that very small bibliographic details. Okay. So we're now going to go, I'm going to now try and share a Jamboard, which I'd like to put in some terms for the population and the intervention.
I'll just let folks know that I've popped that link in the chat to make it easier.
And if you use the sticky notes to do that. Geriatric, elderly, robotic pets over on the right for the intervention. Brilliant. Senior citizens, aged, human. Oh, we've even got some truncation in there already. You're you're a step ahead of me. It's always difficult to know where to pitch this sort of thing because you don't know if people are coming having done very little, but I think you all look like you've done lots. So that's frail population, yeah. Centurion. Oh, what happened there?
Can we undo to get back? We've lost all our. Let's see if I can.
Oh dear.
Oh, we've got pages, it looks like.
Oh, really? We've gone. Oh, I've got 3 pages here, but there's nothing in them.
Oh, I see.
Oh, that's a shame. Because you came.
We were doing so well. Yeah.
Yeah, there were some brilliant terms in there, which, you know, there was one about frail, senior citizens. So these are terms which, you know, I'm going to show you a bit of a search strategy I've got. I don't have those in there, so that's brilliant. Thank you.
This is an all right moment to take a question with a raised hand. So I think there was one from Anna if she'd like to ask. You'll need to unmute yourself, Anna. Perhaps it was an inadvertent hand. But I might just take the opportunity. There was an earlier question. Is that all right, Alison, to ask?
Yeah.
Great. So this is from Concepcion. I have certain doubts about how to inform about the databases and platforms, specifically when the search for a systematic review is performed in PubMed. How should I inform this? Number 1, literature search was conducted, including databases such as, and she lists them. Or number 2, literature search was conducted, including databases such as, the first option was the list included PubMed, Embase, embase.com, Cinehill, in brackets, EBSCO, as an example. And then the second version is Medline, PubMed in brackets, Embase, embase.com in brackets, Cinehill, EBSCO in brackets. She says she thinks the first is preferred, but she'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I wouldn't say included. I would say was, you know, because included it kind of indicates that there was others. So researched these databases. So that would be the first thing. And I think what you were saying was to list the databases and then put the platform at the end. Was that right?
Yes, that's right. So
Yeah.
the first version, one of them would be the webs. Oh, yes, that's right. You probably have the the suggestion straight up.
Yeah, so normally I would put in the databases and then put in brackets afterwards via Ovid. So I would, you know, ours normally starts with Medline, Embase, PsycInfo, and then in brackets via Ovid, and then Synal via EBSCOhost. So that's the way I would do it rather than individually. But I mean, it's up to you how you want to do it, but that's normally how I would do it. And at the end of the presentation, there is an example of some search methods, how I've written it up. I'm not saying it's correct, but it's one that I've already done. Does that help?
Fantastic. It helps for me. Thank you very much. I hope, Concepcion. And I don't believe we have any further questions, so I'll let you continue.
Okay, thanks. So these were just some terms that I came up with. So older people, older women, elderly, aging, and I think we had maybe not older women, I don't think it was in there, but older people, older adults, they were all in there. And the intervention, it disappeared before I got to see many of the interventions. So robotic animals, robotic pets, robo-pets, and Paro. You wouldn't know this, but there is a robotic seal called Paro. And there's quite a lot of research, there's been research on that. And I think there's a robotic, is it a dog or a cat called Aibo as well? So you'd probably put those in as well. You would pick this up from your scoping searches or from some subject specialists. So how are we going to structure this then? So we thought of the synonyms and variations. So this is a little table. I quite like this, you know, it might be too simple for other people, but I quite like putting the population and then the intervention just in a table, and then I can add all the terms, and then when I start to search, I can start crossing them off or adding things in. And when you go down, it's or, and across, it's and. Okay, it's fairly straightforward. If your research question doesn't fit into PICO, you might want to think about it in terms of concepts. So concept 1 or concept 2, that might be more helpful to you. So the next thing we're going to think about is truncation and phrase searching. And we saw that already on the Jamboard. You put some truncation in, so people already know what they're doing. So phrase searching means it's just going to search for older person as a phrase. For older person with an asterisk will be older person. So I think people probably know that. So I'm going to put that into my search here in the table. So I'm going to put old asterisks, people asterisks, because it could be old people or older people. I'm going to leave older women, robotic animals, I'll put an asterisk, robot pet, and robotic pet. So that's how you put your quotes and wildcards in. And then the last thing we need to think about are fields. So which fields are you going to search in, and proximity searching. Has someone raised a hand?
Yep, it's Anna again. Let's try again, Anna. Would you be able to unmute yourself? I'm unable to unmute you.
Hi.
Hi.
I didn't raise my hand. So I don't know what I feared so before, but I didn't do anything. And on my screen, there's still written raise hand. So I do think that my hand is not risen, at least in my program, but I don't know.
Not a problem.
Maybe just
it's lovely to hear you anyway. Not a problem. I'm not sure what's happening there. That's fine. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. It is lovely to hear a voice, because I feel like I'm just talking into my window out into the street here. So yeah, we were talking about field codes. So you then want to think about the fields that you're going to search in and proximity searching. And the unfortunate thing about proximity searching is that it's different in the different platforms. So there's ADJ is in Ovid, but near X, I have to write these down, is in Web of Science, ProQuest, and Cochrane all use that, but EBSCO uses N. So if you're going to use proximity searching, make sure you have a look in the platform that you're using to find out what syntax they use for it. And it means different things in different databases. So again, do double check what it is. But I think the proximity searching is a really neat tool for systematic reviews. It means it's not as specific as phrase searching, but it's not as broad as using an and. So say we were looking for older people in care homes, you probably wouldn't do this, but you might do older people within, so ADJ, within 3 words of care home, rather than looking for older people and care home anywhere, okay? So that's just what it means. But, well, I'm going to show you how to do that on Ovid shortly. So this might be how your search would end up. So I've kept older women with an asterisk as a phrase. Older people, I've put an ADJ2. And robotic pet, I've put ADJ1. But you don't know what the proximity is going to be until you actually start searching. And you do have to do a bit of sort of playing around, doing different ones and seeing which one's going to give you enough relevant information. You know, you don't want to lose stuff, okay? And it might depend on the database. So I sometimes will use adjacency searching in large databases like Web of Science and Medline. But when it comes to the smaller databases, say like Global Health, I might use an and, because that makes it slightly broader. So that you might want to change it depending on the database that you're using.
Alison, we have a question from Gloria about what you mean regarding proximity.
Okay, it means you're searching, so older, so if you have older people, if you use it as a phrase, it looks for just that phrase within the title and abstract. If you use proximity searching, so you put ADJ2, say, in there, it will look for those 2 words within 2 words of each other, and they can be reversed. So it could be people who are older, or it could be older adult people. So we'll pick all of those up without having to put all the phrases in. So you do sometimes see searches where they just put lots and lots of phrases in, when actually you would have been able to capture it by using a proximity. But I'm going to do it in the demo, so hopefully it will make sense, and I'll show you one, not the other. So hopefully you'll be able to see on the record what I mean when I'm saying that. Okay, does that help at all?
It did for me. Thanks very much. I have one more question. Would you turn the whole list into one long string, A or B or C, etc., or run multiple shorter strings? And that one was from Lucas.
Normally, I would do it line by line, because I think in terms of reproducibility and transparency, it's much better. You can see what someone has done, but also when you're developing the search, you can see where some of the big numbers are coming. So you might put something in like, I'm trying to think now, but you might not realize what it's finding, or you might misspell it. I've done that before, you know, and you think, and if you put it in a string, you might miss that. Okay, so that's something to think about. And I know not all databases will allow you to do this, which is why when we start developing a search, we'll often use Medline in Ovid, because it does allow you to do it line by line, and you can see much better what you're actually doing. Whereas if you do it in, say, EBSCO, when you start combining searches, it puts it all into this huge block of text, and then it gets really complicated. You know, if you've got quite a long search or quite a complicated search, it's really difficult to figure out, you know, if you go back to a year later, it's really hard to figure out what you've done. And if you publish that, it's really difficult for other people to figure out what you've done as well. So that's not ideal. Yeah, does that help?
Yes, thanks so much, Alison.
Yeah. So hopefully, if you search for, I think hopefully the link for Ovid will be in the chat, and you can use the username and password. So I'm hoping that's going to work for everyone. I'm not sure what we'll do if it doesn't. We might have to go on to PubMed or something. So I'm going to pause, and then I'm going to bring up my Ovid, and we're going to use global health. So again, that's a thank you to Ovid and Cabby for allowing us these username and passwords to have a look.
Just in case folks haven't seen it in the chat, that link is available there with the username and password.
Okay, so everyone, you can either just watch what I do, or you can follow with me and type in what I do, just to have a practice. Because after I gave you the demonstration, I'm going to allow you guys. I'm going to suggest that you go off. I'm going to give you a different question, and you go off and try it yourself. Okay. So the first thing you might need to do is click here to make sure you can see all the search. I don't know if that's coming up. So I'm going to use the search terms. Oops, don't know what's happening here. Okay, so I'm going to try and remember them. So if you put older people, I'll put an asterisk, and we're going to use that as a phrase. We're going to put quotes. I'm just going to say in Ovid, you don't need to, but you do have to in other databases, so I'm going to do it here as well, just for some good practice. And in Ovid, you do a full stop, then you put TI, which means it's going to search for it in the title, then a comma, and AB, which means it's going to look for it in the abstract. So I'm showing you the advanced search. There is a multi-field search if you prefer, and there is a basic search. So there are lots of different ways of doing this, and I'm just showing you the way I would do it, but you may find a way that's better for you, okay? And then I'm just going to click search. So I've got 6,846, okay? So now I'm going to put in older ADJ2 people, again with an asterisk, full stop, TI, comma, AB, and I'm going to search for that. So you'll see there's over 7,000 now. So what I would do is I would look to see what additional papers it's coming up with. So to do that, I would do 201. You're looking for older ADJ2 people, but not older people as a phrase. So these are the additional references that you're going to find and search. So you've got 592, and that's when we'll go in and have a look. So you'll see here, older adults people. So you may think, okay, I'll put older adults as a phrase. Older adults, people get older, might be helpful. Older people's age, people with older age. So hopefully that shows you what the adjacency is now doing. Whereas if you go into, so if you used older people asterisk, just in the title and abstract, these are the ones that you're going to miss. Okay, and for a systematic review, they might be really relevant. So what I tend to do when I'm developing a search is I'll end up trying different things. So older ADJ3, and I'm going to put sort of TI for my AB. So I've come up with slightly more again. So then I'd do 402. Okay, so we're looking for the ADJ3. These are the additional ones that using ADJ3 and not ADJ2 will come up with. 219 there. And then I would go and look older individuals and people. So older individuals might be a phrase or a term that you might want to consider. People who were older or disabled people, older adults, that's older PLH, IV and people. So you sort of, these are, you can see these are less relevant than the previous one, but it might be useful to do that. And then when you go into ADJ4 or 5, you're probably going to find that there's too many words in between them that's going to give you relevant stuff. So this is it's a really powerful kind of tool to use when you're doing systematic reviews. Okay, so I'm going to use ADJ2, I think. So I'm just going to delete these. So that says we've got older people. We had older women. Dot TI, comma AB. For many, I'm going to put elderly. Dot TI, comma AB. And aging, I think, is the other one. Dot TI, comma AB. I was going, if you put aged in, I only know this because I did this recently, aged.ti, comma AB. You get a lot of hits because you'll get school-aged children. So you think of it as a subject, but in the text, your patient's aged more than 30 years. Okay, among children aged between, so that's probably one you don't want to use, and that's why you go in and you have a look to see what results are coming up. And that's also why, you know, like the question that was asked earlier about doing it line by line, you can see this one, you're getting 200,000 hits. You go, that's quite a lot. Go in and have a look and see what it's bringing back. And you think, actually, I'm not going to put that one in. Or you might want to put it in as an adjacency site with adults or something. So you might want to just alter the search line.
Can I ask a question, Alison?
Sure.
This is a little back and forward in the chat, and folks are wondering why you might not use .tw instead of TI, comma AB.
Yeah, no, it's a really good question, because in global health, when you put TW, it doesn't search the title and abstract, it searches in I'll show you, because I did this the other day. I don't often use global health, but I did when I was looking at it. I'll show you. In Medline, you will generally use TW. So that's not this one. Because what it was doing was, you've got all of these subject headings, organism descriptors, broad terms. It was coming up with a lot of stuff in here which I wasn't interested in. So it's really good because the CAB's thesaurus is very hierarchical, and it's very clever, but that I didn't want. So they would put, say, you know, humans would be somewhere, and then underneath you'd have other terms. So I'm going to show you this in a moment, but when you put TW, when I was doing this the other day, when I was putting TW in, it was coming up with a lot in here that I wasn't interested in. Let's see if I can find. Let's see if I do. Let's see. Oh, 6.1. It's only giving me 6. We've got here identifiers total food intake of older people, and that's not didn't want to do that. I just wanted to look for the stuff in the title and abstract.
There's just a quick question referring to what TW specifically means, and I thought perhaps others might have that question, so I'll just ask it.
Yeah, TW stands for text word, and I think it varies depending on which database you're in. It's title, abstract, and sometimes the keywords. When you're searching Medline, it seems to make no difference between TIAB and TW, which is what I normally use. But I think global health is slightly different from my investigations the other day. So normally,
and one last sneaky question. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. It's just I think these are the truncators. Instead of the asterisks, would you perhaps use a question mark like WOM question mark N?
Yeah, you can do it in Ovid. You can do that, and then it will pick up woman or woman. So yeah, you can definitely do that. Unfortunately, I think Ovid is the only one that allows that. I might be wrong, but of course you can definitely do that. Yeah. Good point.
Thanks,
Thank
Alison.
you.
Thank you.
Now I'm thinking, where did it? This happens every time you search. You go, oh, I wonder if. So I'm going to stop doing I wonder if. And but hopefully that's helped explain the TW and why I did TIAB and not TW. Yeah. So I'm going to remove these ones. Because obviously the other thing you can do is in here. You can actually edit that. I might edit that to be bold. And click OK, and then run the search. Then you're getting more hits. Okay, so that's some terms. I mean, it's certainly not an exhaustive list. I want to show you the thesaurus in global health. So I'm going to click this map subject heading. I don't know if other people have that on theirs. And I'm going to put all the people in and see what comes up. Okay, so we've got some terms there, and we've got elderly. So I'm going to click on that. And this is your hierarchical list. So the control terms are, it's a set list of terms which when a paper is indexed on a database, they will assign index terms to it. And it's the idea of it is that something which doesn't have the subject and the title, the abstract, it will be indexed under this and you should be able to find it. But all the research kind of shows that actually you have to do both. Just using free text terms won't capture everything, and just using controlled vocab won't capture everything. But you have to be careful with using it. Say in Medline, you need to be really specific because there are thousands of records on there. So don't go broad in your choice of thesaurus term there. But in something like global health, much smaller database, you might want to go a bit wider. Again, play around with it and see what's coming up. So it tells us it's used for aged, elderly. So I'm going to tick elderly and I'm going to tick old age. So there are two ways of search. You can either search just for the term, which is here, or you can explode it, which is here. And what that means is you've got elderly, and underneath in the hierarchy, you've got elderly patients. So what it's doing when you explode it is it's searching for elderly and elderly patient or elderly patients. So you're searching for both of those subject terms and not just one. I hope that makes sense. I'm just going to keep them focused for now. I'm not going to, what you call, explode them. And I'm going to continue. So now we have 5 lines of search. And I'm just going to OR these together. So on your screen, remember to click here. You might need to expand it if you haven't already so you can see all your searches. And I like this interface because it's really simple. It's got the searches here, you've got your results here, and then you click on them all and click OR. Okay, so we now have 99,811. But it actually isn't that many when you're thinking of older people. So this is, you know, it's a very small database. So that's something to be aware of when we start putting the next search terms in. So what we were looking for, robotic animals or robotic pets. So I think, we're now going to look for those. So robotic, I'm going to put ADJ3 animal, and I'm going to do .ti, AB. One hit, not very many. So I'm going to change it to, I'm going to put robo animal. And a 6. So I'm interested really in what they would be. Normally, if you're looking at big numbers, you do one, not the other. But as there's not many hits. Animal robot. Yeah, I'm not sure why that. Interesting. Robotics. Animal-like robots. Okay. So maybe you put robot, ADJ3 animal. That's what I did wrong. So I put robotic. So that's really easy to see that you've done something wrong there. So I'm going to delete this one. And I'm going to leave it with robo animal. And then we have, so I'm going to do the same for pets. So pets, normally you probably wouldn't use pet asterisks because we come up with so many hits. So you need to remember where you're putting your asterisks. But because it's near robo, I think it's probably going to be fine. So .ci, AB. So there's only 3. Paro, another one. I'm looking at those numbers, and there aren't that many. So in this instance, I would be tempted just to put robo in. So that comes up with over 1,000. Okay, that might be that you might want that, you might not. Okay, or in this case, you might decide to put an and rather than an adjacency. So you might put animal or pet and combine that with robo with an and. So there are different ways of doing it. So I when I was practicing this, I didn't do this, so I'm going to try it. And I never stick to the script. So if we did that or that, and then combined it with robo, it's an and. You've got 90. So when we just did these, we got 9, and we got 90 with pet or animal combined with robo asterisks. So that looks all right to me. So I'm going to do, so the next thing we need to do then is search for a subject heading within the thesaurus for this. So I'm going to put robotic in, or robot, I think. So we have robots here, but if we look at the slope for that, doesn't look like it's going to be relevant. And if we click on it, the broader term is equipment, the narrower term is milking robots. So I would be tempted not to put that in at all. I would just leave that. I wouldn't put a subject term in for that. So I now have Paro, number 9, or number 14, which is 98, and I'm going to combine that with my LD term, so my population, my intervention combined with an and. So I have 6 hits. All right, so small database, you're not getting a lot of hits. It's understandable. If you reran this in Medline, you'd probably get a lot more. But it's useful just to look at them and see what's coming up. Look at the complete reference and have a look and see what these subject headings are here, what they're using. So they have used robots there. They've also got nursing homes. It might be interesting to use that, as well as older people. And we've got aged, elderly people, older adults in here. Okay. So hopefully that has made some sense. It's really simple, and not every database allows you to do it in this fashion. Sometimes you have to do it slightly differently. Okay, I'm going to pause now, and I'm going to go back to my slides.
I'll just let you know, Alison, that there's been quite a bit of activity in the chat, and folks are sort of helping each other and debating and a bit of back and forward. So it's just been wonderful. And personally, I just thought your run through was just fantastic. Really grateful.
Thank you. Yeah, I went a bit off. I did practice this, and then obviously you go, oh, what about this? And you know that's constantly what you're doing, is you're going, oh, what about this? And have a look and see what the results are and go back. The notes really helpful. I remember showing that to someone recently, and you went, well, obviously that's what you're going to do, to see what you're going to miss if you use one term and not another. So yeah, hopefully, it's been useful for people. Are there any questions in the chat that I can help with?
I don't think there's any open questions at the moment. I'll let you keep going, and I'll just check just in case we've got something on Twitter. I haven't had a look actually, so okay. I'll let you proceed.
So the next bit is, any questions? So in the Q&A, I don't know if anyone wants to ask any questions or unmute themselves to ask any questions at this stage. Or, does anyone have any comments, a different way they might do it? Neil, I don't know if you have any questions, because I know you do. You do a lot of searching, so I don't know if you have any pearls of wisdom to share about it.
Hi, Alison. Thanks very much. Really interesting workshop so far. Just following what was going on in the chat about a number of databases and duplicates. Okay. I guess my only question, which isn't a question, it's a comment, is that it's really important to have multiple databases, isn't it, in a systematic review, because duplicates are relatively easy to remove, and you don't need to manually screen them all. In most cases, they're quite easy to remove automatically, but making sure that you've got a comprehensive set of databases. And I'd as well say for my subject in environmental science, we want to make sure that we cover different geographies, different disciplines or biomes, or different databases cover different topic areas, different languages, different regions. And it's just nice to, it's good practice to throw in a lot of diversity there to make sure that you've covered things, but particularly the language thing, which is really challenging, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been involved in a project, it's still ongoing, to do in Argentina. So we had a librarian from Argentina. I did the searches in English on, I can't remember how many databases, and we sent them to her, and she reran them on Spanish and Portuguese language databases. So, it was a lot of work, I have to say, to get to that stage, but it was great to be able to do that, because we had a partner out there that was able to help us with it. In the end, I don't think there are any included papers from it. I need to go back and check when the project's finished. But it's certainly a really, really useful thing to be able to do. Particularly, I think there's a lot of evidence for using Chinese language databases. I've never used any, but I think particularly in the medical field, there is. And there are geographic databases. If you go to your library, you can usually find them. Yeah.
I think the last thing I would say, for me, this highlights that one of the great things about doing systematic reviews and systematic approaches to evidence syntheses is that it sort of puts your mind at ease, because you never know, oh, I didn't think of that, or I might have missed that. And if you set it out carefully with constructive feedback from experts in advance, you then know that you're not going to wake up in the middle of the night in a sweat because you realize you've missed a whole body of evidence. I don't know if everybody does that, but that's the kind of thing that affects me. Thanks very much.
Yeah, no, still, you still think that. And we peer review our search strategies. So we have an information specialist team, and there are 5 of us. So we now peer review each other's search strategies. And it's great because you go, oh, okay, I'm okay, I'm all right. Because I was doing a project recently to do with peer support. And my colleague, she had misspelt something, and it was line by line, but she'd misspelt something, and it came up with results. So she didn't really notice it because it was a really long search. And because I'd gone down it in detail, we picked it up. So yeah, it's definitely worth either having a colleague or peer review it, or if your search, particularly in the environmental field, the searches are in the protocol, so they will be reviewed at that stage. But then you've probably already done the searches by then, so it's, yeah.
And then I can hand over to Jana to field questions again, but there is one question about grey literature.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're going to come on to grey. This is just the database searching. We're going to come on to other types of searching, and that's in the little box at the bottom right, the supplementary searching. I'll mention grey lit there.
Another one's come through. Could you download all the results from your search in OATD? Oh, that sounds like it's a specific question to the person familiar with OATD. And then a few more comments about grey literature. So I think we'll let you continue.
Okay. I did mean to show, in a systematic review, as Neil rightly said, you'll have to search across several databases. I think in Cochrane, it says minimum of 2 plus subject-specific databases, I think. But I've never done this, even a rapid review, where I haven't searched at least 4 databases. And as Neil said, you can easily remove the duplicates. We use EndNote. I'm a big fan of EndNote Desktop, but I know you have to pay for it. And yeah, removing duplicates there is pretty easy, and there are ways that you can structure the database to be able to pull out different. It will look in different fields. You can choose the fields that it looks in for the duplicates, so that's really helpful. But there's lots online about how to do that using EndNote.
Terrific. And I just wanted to do a little plug that one of the hackathon projects is precisely on that point about having an open source tool for deduplication. So just encourage folks to keep an eye on our Twitter to see the results of that hackathon project.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's some great stuff has already come out of a hackathon. So yeah, they're brilliant. Yeah. So sorry, Jana, can I just ask what the time is? I don't have a watch.
Yes. It's 43 past. I'm not sure how to say this because I'm in Australia, and I think
okay.
Sorry, go on, Neil.
It's 11:43 GMT for UTC. Okay. You've got 45 minutes left.
Okay.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you. So I'm now going to give you 15 minutes to do your own searching on global health via Ovid. So I've changed the question slightly. So what are the effects of animal therapy on the health and well-being of older people? So if you've followed along with the search and put some of the older person terms in, can I ask you put in 2 additional free text terms for the population, and then put 3 free text terms in for the intervention, a news and adjacency term, at least once in that, and then 1 thesaurus term for the intervention. And I've given you 2 key papers. So this is what we would normally find, people would give us, often it's more, but so there's 2 papers there, one from 96 and one from 2020, a long-term study of elderly people in nursing homes with visiting and resident dogs. And the second one, Animal-assisted therapy improves communication and mobility among institutionalized people with cognitive impairment. Okay, so those are the two papers that you're going to use to try and develop your search strategy. Okay, so I'm going to say 15 minutes for that. How does that sound, Neil and Jana? Is that okay? So to
let's check in. Yeah, let's check in and in 15 minutes time. If folks need a couple of more minutes, we could possibly extend, but that sounds great.
Okay, thank you.
So if you're watching this video in catch up, you can scan forwards 15 minutes and we'll put up a slide to indicate that this is a pause, a deliberate one. Thanks.
Okay, I'm going to step away from my computer for the moment, just for about 5 minutes. We're on half term here, and I'm just going to check, see what my son is doing.
Sounds good.
Thanks very much, Alison. For everyone else, we'll check back in 15 minutes. That's 12 GMT, or exactly on the hour, wherever you are. And we won't change the slide actually because there's important information in that slide, but we'll make a note on the YouTube channel to say that 1 hour 15 in, there is a 15-minute pause. So we'll see you again in 15 minutes. Thanks very much.
All right, just checking in to see how everyone's getting on. Does anyone have any questions that I can try and answer? I've had a look at the chat, and there's some great questions and some great answers. So thank you to all those people. That's really, really helpful.
Well, we're waiting for a few more moments, Alison. I thought it might be just a nice idea to ask folks to pop in the chat where they're joining us from. Just because we've had a few people mention they're from pretty far away, or well, far away from me. I'm in Australia, so I thought that might be nice if folks might like to add just to pop the country where they're joining from just in the chat.
Yep, lovely.
Oh, this is amazing.
And I recognise a few names as well.
Just fantastic. Thanks, guys.
Gosh. Scotland, I'm heading there tomorrow. Edinburgh.
Where are you headed? If it's all right to ask, sorry,
Yeah,
that's just my natural chattiness coming out.
The other coast, Glasgow area, that's where I'm originally from. So we're on holiday now for a week, or my son is, so we'll drive up and see my folks and family. Yeah.
That just sounds fantastic.
Yeah. I hope the weather's not shockingly bad and there's no snow.
Thanks, everyone. That was really lovely to see everyone's place from where they're joining. If anyone has any burning questions, now could be a good moment to include them in the chat, especially with regards to the search.
I mean, I will say at the end, but there are lots of resources out there if you're using a specific database or a specific platform, say like Ovid or WebAssign. They do lots of online tutorials and videos if you ever need to do anything. And the other excellent place to go, obviously, is your library, or not even your library. If you're not in an institution or your institution doesn't have links to, good resources. I think all university libraries, their stuff is available freely. So look around and see what's out there. There's some great stuff out there. Okay, I'm going to start again, but what I'm going to do is hopefully you'll all have done this search, and I've given you two key papers. Now I'm going to give you another two, and with the search that you've done, see if you found these two as well. Okay, so it's just a little bit of extra. I picked this one up from, I did in Michigan, we did this, and I did a course out with the people out there at the university, which was great, and they did this, which I thought was kind of interesting.
It would be fantastic to hear from you guys. You might like to put in the chat if you picked up these two papers with the search you constructed.
Yeah, we do also have a Google form for you to fill in at the end. So interested in how many hits that you got, and if you used any control vocab, what it was, and did your search find the first two references, and did your search find the second two references?
Neil's just popped that in the chat.
Brilliant. I'm going to try and find it now. So, someone's asked how to find thesaurus terms, so that I can go back in and show that, no problem.
Would you be able to show the test references again, Alison?
Oh yeah, sure, sorry. I will. Sorry, I meant too quickly, didn't I? Oops. Yeah, sorry about that. There you go. I'll leave that up. I'll stop playing around with it. Okay, I'm going to ask if we come to an end on that. Neil, are you able to share the form? I think I couldn't figure out how to do that. So would you be able to do that? The Google form, is that possible?
Yeah, no worries. I'll just get
Thank you.
that up in another screen.
Thanks.
We've only had one response so far.
Oh, okay. All right. Maybe I'll let people fill that out, and what I'll do is I'll go back into Global Health on Ovid and show you the search that I did, just to see how it compared. This is not a search for a systematic review. It was just it was a search, but I didn't do it for systematic review. If that makes sense.
Sounds like a good idea. And people can have a look at the results coming in via that Google form. Once you've filled in your results, you should be able to see the analysis of everybody's responses, so people can see the results.
Brilliant. Okay, so hopefully you can all see my Ovid again. So I'm going to remove all of this, which was the one that I was demonstrating earlier. So I'm going to go into my saved searches, and I'm going to run this search. So with whole databases, if you sign up, you can usually save your searches and then rerun them, which is a really good thing to do in a systematic review. So this was the search I came up with. So cats, dogs, and I used pets or domestic animals as the thesaurus term. I think someone asked about how to find that. So in the advanced search, and there's a map term to subject headings, and I'm going to put in animal. and click search. And if I click on animals here, that brings up the hierarchical list. Okay, so animals, probably not, but there's pets there. I'm going to click on pets. And then you've got related terms. When I was doing this the other day, I initially put in, I exploded it, but then I realized that actually, you know, mice, 168,000, that's sort of a lot of experimental stuff. So you wouldn't choose to use mice in your search. So this is a case where you would look for the narrow term of pets. You might choose cats, dogs, but domestic animals is probably the one that you'd be most interested in, which is what I chose to do in the search. Okay. So, and I got 2,074 hits. For me, seems not too many, since I uploaded a pile of stuff, a lot of references to screen for someone the other day, and there were over 14,000. So 2,000 doesn't seem that many at the moment. So a couple of things that you also, which I didn't mention earlier, is you need to, it's a good idea to print your search capacity. And there are various ways to do that. So you can click print, you can click on the first one and go to export. You can export to Microsoft Word. So you can email it to yourself. So there are lots of ways of doing it. Find out which way is going to be best for you. And the other thing you need to do in a systematic review is download all of the hits. You don't go through them at this point, and because Neil mentioned, you're having to search in several different databases. So you search them all and download all the results, and then you remove the duplicates before you screen. So different databases have different rules for downloading results. So here at the University of Exeter, I can download about 500 at any one time. I think it's up to 1,000, but it tends to keel over, so I do it in 500, up to 500. So yeah, you put in the range there, and your export format is generally in RIS, so then it's compatible with all the reference management tools that you're going to use. I use EndNote, so I just upload them into EndNote. Okay, so this is a search. So I've also got the saved. I've also saved the search of the key references, and this I would do this when I'm developing a systematic review. I'd add the key references as a different search, and then I'd run that. This is another good thing about Ovid, is that it adds your saved searches onto the bottom. Whoever signs, you can't seem to do that, or I haven't figured out a way of doing it. When you run a saved search, it overwrites what you've already done. It's not much use. And then you just do one, and you say, okay, 4 of my key references. Okay. I know key references are really important, but they're good to validate your search, but they're also good to look at the detail of the reference. So it's good to, if you've got quite a lot and it's quite a, say, an unusual subject area, it's good to see which databases they're in. Are they in Web of Science? Are they in Environment Complete? Are they in Medline? And that will help you determine which databases you're going to search in. But also, if you find all of your key papers, don't try and develop your search just to pick up your key papers. I think that's what I'm going to say, because you already have them. So it helps you with your search, but don't use it as a kind of fail-safe. In a project recently we were doing on peer support, we searched for systematic reviews first because it was a map, and then we looked at the primary studies in the included systematic reviews, and say there were maybe about 60, and there were 2 ISs working on it, so we split it. So my colleague got 30 and I got 30, or 15, whatever it was, and we then developed a search for primary studies using that development set that we had, and then at the end we used the test set, so that the other person's development set, to see what it had picked up. So kind of what we did there. So if you have enough key papers, it's unlikely, I suppose, but that's quite a good way of helping you develop your search. Okay, so I think that might be the full search. Okay, so hopefully I'll be able to go onto the Google Forms at the end and see what the results were. So thank you so much for engaging with that and completing the Google Forms. That's brilliant. And this is the sample search of the one that I just showed you. So we've got so dog, or dogs rather than dog asterisk, because it might pick up a lot of stuff it's irrelevant. I put old, ADHD, people, person, adult, or resident. And I've also put some nursing and care home terms in there as well. Okay. So any questions at this stage?
I have to confess, I just put in some silly answers into the form because I was curious. And we've got a really nice little comment. Really sorry, I went to get a drink and a loo break rather than the search, but I'm loving the workshop. And I suspect others might have done the same. But do you know what, Alison? I think it was such a good exercise. I'm actually waiting to follow the recording and do it myself in my own time. Because I think it's worth trying, and also to check whether you pick up those references that you said, and obviously not cheating and seeing your final strategy, which you've just shown, having a real go and trying to pick up those other references. So thank you very much.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to talk about search filters. These are pre-tested and published search strategies, and they test them on large numbers of papers. And it may filter out relevant studies, so you need to be careful of them. And they often perform inconsistently across subject areas. This is a place to go for search filters, the ISSG search filters page, because they link to papers, but they also link to other sites. So there are some other good sites out there, but you should find them in, excuse me, in the ISSG search filters page. So this is the Cochrane RCT search filter, which is one that I do use. The other one that I've used is the geographic search filter developed by NICE, that's for UK. I think I probably used the whole thing, but I've adapted it for what I need as well, like you would with any search strategy. This one I'd probably use as is, and this is, I think it's a balance of precision and sensitive. I think they've got another sensitive Cochrane RCT search filter, which will capture more, but it depends on what you're looking for. Okay, so do use them, but use them with caution is all I'd say. Check your results when you're using them. Okay. So when you're doing your field search, choose a particular database to develop it in. Use your key references. Look at other systematic reviews, and what's really important is to give yourself time, not just to develop the search strategy, but actually to run it, particularly when you're having to use Ovid. I like it, but when it comes to searching in things like ProQuest and EBSCO, you can start pulling your hair out. It can be extremely frustrating because often it's not doing what you want it to do, and you'll combine two sets of concepts with an and it comes out with more hits than you started off with. So it can be quite frustrating, and often you'll find you may need to do a shortened version of your search strategy, unfortunately, because they don't all respond to complex searches in a great way. Use free text, use controlled vocab, play around with adjacency, use the not, to see what you're going to miss or what is added, and keep checking your results. don't presume that it's done what you think it's done. Because in some databases, I think you need to put quotes around your single terms as well. Otherwise, it does truncation searching, and it will also search for what they think are similar terms. So just be careful. So I'm not going to pause there. I'm going to go on to supplementary searching. So why do we do it? Why we do it? Oh, there we go. Not all journals are indexed in the databases, and the papers might not be indexed accurately, but also the papers might not be written in a way that you can pick them up. So if you've got some sort of fun and interesting title, but doesn't actually tell you what the paper's about, it's going to be really hard to pick it up. We did a systematic review a couple of years ago, and it was called They Walk the Walk. So that, but it did have a subtitle, Systematic Review of, but if it just had that title, you know, unless it had, you know, it might have had more in the abstract, and it might have had indexing terms, but you're reducing the chances if you don't have a good title of picking it up. Your search strategy just might not find them, but also you might find some more recently published papers or older papers. So the database you're searching in only goes from 1990, say, you might find some older stuff when you do supplementary searching. And there is some good evidence to support that it's good for finding the grey literature. So these are examples of supplementary searching. So citation chasing, hand searching, web searching, key author searching. And just to say, I've done some of these as part of the big database search. So key author searching. So I was doing a project on antimicrobial resistance a couple of years ago. And in that, there were 3 particular authors that we were interested in. So we searched those on Web of Science and Scopus for anything by those authors, as well as the sort of keyword type searching as well. And I've also done one where there was a key paper, it was on attention restoration theory. I think it's from '97. There was the paper was published on it, so we did forward citation chasing on that one as part of the actual search strategy. So, so these are methods that aren't your standard database type searching. And you also have web searching, contacting organisations. Done that in a project quite a few years ago on dementia gardens. We phoned them up, organisations, and spoke to people, and then they gave us other places to contact. So we kind of snowballed that list. But I think in the end, I'm not sure any additional studies were found from that. But it's really useful to do. Years ago at the EHIL conference, which is the European Association of Health Information Libraries, we did a workshop on supplementary searching, and we wrote up a blog post about it. So it gives you all quite a few of the different supplementary search techniques and who does it, and you know what stage in the review you do it. And then there are a few at the end which we didn't cover, like pearl growing and snowballing and stuff that we didn't have time to cover. So that's a bit on supplementary searching. And then I'm just going to mention grey literature. So it's been mentioned already. So this is literature which we think of as unpublished. And the main ones are conference proceedings, reports, and theses. And I saw a tweet by Andrew Booth the other day that said we should be saying at the very start what type of grey literature we're looking for. So if we say we're looking for a thesis, then you can say, okay, we're going to search ProQuest dissertations and theses. So if you're not interested in conference proceedings, then don't search Web of Science conference proceedings, you know, just for the sake of it, because if you're not interested in it. So, you know, be choosy, I think is what he was saying, and be explicit from the outset, you know, which is something I haven't done in the past. So that's useful to know. And where do we find it? So I think people forget that we can search for them on databases. So there are databases that find specific that do include grey literature, and I'll show you a search summary table later, which shows that we included 2 theses in a project, and they were both picked up, I think, from PsycInfo. So yeah, it's I think people forget, and supplementary searching also picks up journal literature as well. So it's not one or the other. Grey literature is a type of publication. Supplement, citation chasing and web searching is a type of searching. So try not to get the two confused. But there is evidence to show that supplementary searching does pick up more grey lit. Okay. Some catalogues there, these are very UK specific from the British Library. Electronic repositories, I haven't used those, but most institutions, particularly universities, all the employees' publications will be on an electronic repository, so they could be a valuable source. And there are networks, organisations' websites. They can be really valuable, so going on searching either in the publications catalogue or browsing their website, that can be really useful. And obviously the other supplementary search techniques that I mentioned before. I'm not going to pause because I think we've got about 10 minutes. And I just want to cover some update searches. Why we do update searches? Because you might find more recent publications. And often they say that if your review goes on further than 12 months, then you need to do an update search. And there are different ways of doing this. I used to sometimes, some people might put in a date restriction, so just for the last year. So that's a publication date restriction. I'd be extremely wary of doing that because the new stuff that goes onto databases isn't always new stuff. They might be indexing new journals, which means they'll have the kind of back catalogue of new journals. They may have old information, they may have updated some information. So I certainly wouldn't recommend using a publication date, but databases will often have a date of entry. And you can use that, but I've gone away from using that myself. I don't think that's that reliable because sometimes it doesn't seem to work. I don't trust it, put it that way. So what I now do is I rerun the searches and dedupe them against the original searches that we did. But you might want to think about where you search and how you search, because you've already done the searches, you've got your included studies, and you might have done like a 50-line search, but actually from your included studies, there's a lot of stuff that you don't need. So you could decide to edit your search. I've done that in the past, or I've decided just to search in certain databases because I've evaluated the results of the search and the search strategy, and I've said, no, I'm only going to run it in 1 or 2 databases. So there is the potential for doing that. You do potentially miss stuff, but if you can evidence why you're doing it, it could be worthwhile if you're short of time. Okay. So this is just an example of, in a protocol, what you might put in. So it says which databases you're going to search, and you can see from the question earlier, so it says Ahmed and Sinal via EBSCO host, Embase Medline PsycInfo via Ovid, and you'll see Web of Science only searching Science Citation Index, so not social sciences or arts and humanities. ProQuest dissertations and thesis, and the other 2 via ProQuest. And it says relevant credit will be searched for and where we're going to search for that, and where we're going to do the forwards and backwards citation searching, and the organisation's website. We put including, but then when you come to write up, you would put down all of the websites that you've searched. I mean, this is quite old, you can tell, because it says Web of Knowledge, and it's now Web of Science. So that's an old name for us. This is an old one. And then these are search methods for writing up a systematic review. And again, things have changed now. So you'll see that it does say the platform that we use, but what it doesn't say is the range of years for each database. So you need to include that now. That's yeah, something that that is really, really helpful, which is great. So it says that the date that we ran it, and we've got a supplementary file of custom Medline search strategy. The guidance is now to publish all of the search strategies that you use. And we said how we did the backs and forward citation chasing using the included papers, because often you don't see that, you presume that's what they've done, well, I presume that's what they've done because that's what we do, but they may have used other ones. So just be clear. And we did some search metrics, which I'll show you. And then we said we searched 12 websites and Nexus News. And for this one, all of that information is in a supplementary file. And you can see we did another search later on because we found out there were particular programs from the screening of all the literature. There were specific programs. This was to do with parent-to-parent support in the neonatal unit. So then we then went back in and searched for those as well. So don't think you have to do a big database search, that's going to get everything. You know, you may need, depending on the question, you may need to be a little bit flexible about how you're doing it, but record what you're doing and be explicit and open about what you're doing. And this is a very old Prisma flow diagram for another review. So again, Prisma has changed, I think it was last year. So have a look. I think I've got a link to the Prisma website. So you do need to put a Prisma flow diagram. So you need to know after you've searched, I think it now asks for all the databases and the number of hits you got from each database. So you need the total number from your searching, and then how many were excluded for duplication, and then a title and abstract. Yeah, so that's just an example of a search strategy. But I've just realised at the bottom, that arrow I think is going in the wrong way. That should be going the other way because that went in, not out. So every time you look at stuff you've done, you go, oh, you might have done that differently. This is what we now do at the end of every systematic review. We do a search summary table. It might just be a step too far for everyone. It might just be for the information specialists among us. But what we do at the end is we look at the included papers, the databases we searched in, and where those papers came from. So we use the undeduped files for this, so we can tell whether the search picked up. And then you can see we did these methods of supplementary searching. These three find nothing, and these two find stuff. And what's interesting is that two of these that we find from backwards and forward citation searching were in the database, Medline and Embase, but the search didn't pick it up. So that's a learning point for me, because I then go back and go, oh, well, why didn't it pick it up? And then you're learning from what you're doing rather than just moving on to the next topic. And I've been doing these for quite a long time. So there are some databases I don't bother searching anymore. And it gives you evidence to say why you're not going to search anymore. You know, as an IS, I might think, I'm not going to get anything from there, but the project team are very keen. So I can now perhaps evidence the reasons I don't want to search in something. And also what's interesting is some evidence to show that supplementary searching can take quite a long time, as does database searching, but for little reward. So that's something you need to bear in mind as well. So I was going to, there's a search strategy there I thought for you to critique, but I think perhaps we've run out of time. This was published in the BMJ about 2 years ago. So I'm sure all of you can do something, can I say better? More transparent, reproducible and unbiased, shall we say. Yeah. So I've just put some links to some guidance and help, Cochrane, Campbell, CE, JBI, library guides. There's a link to PRESS, which is a peer review of electronic search strategies. It's a really useful checklist. And there's Prisma. and roses, and they're reporting standards. They're not standards on how to conduct a systematic review, but they can be helpful. Prisma S, that's quite new, and that's for reporting of searches. So if you're doing a systematic review, do have a look at that to see what is now expected of you to publish. And it is much easier now, because everything's electronic, to be able to publish supplementary appendices and things, because there can be a lot of information and a lot of words in it that I wouldn't be able to go into the body of the paper. And as I mentioned earlier, platforms and hosts have instructional videos, which are brilliant. If you don't know how to do it, go and have a look. And there's some further reading. This one, if you're interested in searching, there's Sure. It's mainly around health technology appraisals, but they do have a lot of, they just list a kind of overview of stuff, but also lots of references. So if you're interested, that's a good place to start. And these two publications, one by Chris Cooper, an ex-colleague, and Ruth Garside, who I think is presenting later on, the wonderful Ruth Garside. I've done a few projects with her. That's a really good, these are both really good papers for guidance on search methods. And finally, these are a few of my favourite things. The SR toolbox is fantastic. It's got, everything is on there. I've tried lots of things on there. Some of it sticks with me, some of it doesn't. There's a citation chaser, which Neil developed or was involved in, I'm not sure. Ryan, I use that now quite a lot for screening. Epi Reviewer, you do have to pay for that, but you can get a free trial. The Atlas, another brilliant resource for creating maps. And the SR Accelerator. They have a deduplication tool on there, and they have Polyglot for transcribing your search from one platform to another. That's variable, but I have used it. It's pretty good, and have a go. But these will all be on SR Toolbox, but these are just ones that I've used and I've found useful. Other ones I've used and they haven't done exactly what I wanted to do, but find your own and do use them. And I think that's it. I think if I...
Oh, yay! Really great. Really grateful, Alison. I was just really impressed. You mentioned there's lots of things out there to go and learn, but I'm going to be bookmarking this video because I thought it was fantastic. I'm just going to give another copy of the link. So after this recording, the live stream will just close up and it will be immediately available to folks to refer to. Really grateful for a fantastic presentation. We've set up just a simple tweet, and if anybody has sort of additional questions, you're tagged there. Folks can just pop future questions if they have a go with the search exercise that we had earlier, and they might have questions. They can ping you over there. So just very, very grateful. Thank you very much, Alison, and thanks to everyone for their fantastic participation and interaction in the chat. Lots of great comments as well. So thank you very much.